As I predicted, the mainstream conservatives, the brand name corporate conservatives, Conservative Inc., the sellouts, cowards, and gatekeepers like Ben Shapiro, of course, are very upset that Shiloh Hendricks' life wasn't ruined by cancel culture. And instead, the Give, Send, Go page has raised almost $700,000 to not only just protect her and her family and give her a war chest to fight against the threats, the doxing, the lawfare that's coming her way, but also, and even more importantly so, to send a message that we're not going to allow people's lives to be ruined by idiots on the internet because they said a little word that hurts certain black people's feelings. Stay tuned and subscribe to my channel if you're new here, because if you are new, you're soon going to see you won't find another YouTube channel like this. And of course, little Ben Shapiro opened his show yesterday complaining about the woman, complaining about the people who are raising money to defend her and to fight back against cancel culture, because Ben Shapiro supports consequence culture, and so does clickbait Benny Johnson and all of the other cowards in conservative media. He titled his show, "Stop Giving Your Money to Crappy People."
Now, the reason this has become a national issue is because this woman was videoed, and people basically started going after her on social media.
Tried to cancel her and ruin her life, which is why we're sending a message to people that we're not tolerating that anymore, little Ben.
But none of these things justify each other. And this is part of the terrible slide into the bottomless pit of garbage that the United States seems to be embroiling itself in. The idea that you have to give money to Shiloh Hendricks because people gave money to Carmelo Anthony. You don't.
No, that's not what's happening. It's because we're sending a message that we're not going to allow people's lives to be destroyed because they uttered a little word that black people use to leverage power over white people, especially when they spew anti-white slurs with zero consequences themselves. Matt Walsh, on the other hand, who also works for the Daily Wire, didn't disappoint, posting this on Twitter, a link to his video saying, "My take on the Shiloh Hendricks story. I'm glad she raised $500,000. I hope she raises $500,000 more. Here's why." I mean, what's next? Is Matt going to give me a shout out in his video? Oh, wait, what's this?
This is the most devastating attack on cancel culture that we have seen, possibly ever.
The fundraising.
Shiloh Hendricks has, without really trying, effectively ended cancel culture. As Mark Dice said in his video about the incident, Shiloh is the final boss of cancel culture, or maybe rather the final boss that cancel culture has to fight. And I think that's right. And this is the part that many conservatives seem to be missing. All they see is that this woman said something bad and is now getting rewarded for it. The whole thing is so unsavory that they can't help but recoil. And yeah, it is unsavory. You wish that Shiloh had said or done something that we could affirmatively defend. That would be much easier. Nobody wants to affirmatively defend cussing out a 5-year-old, even
probably a 10-year-old or 12-year-old. But
no, I don't think the kid's actually 5. But none of that is the point. The point is that the only way to put an end to this routine, the routine where the outrage mob mobilizes and assembles to destroy somebody's life, is to disincentivize the routine. And the only way to disincentivize that behavior is to reward the person who's being targeted.
Absolutely, and here's Brandon Tatum's take. I like Brandon. I met him at the White House Social Media Summit years ago, and we hung out all afternoon. He's a real one. He doesn't go along with the Conservative Inc. consensus regarding a lot of these issues that the cowards have sold out on. So here's part of what he had to say.
This is what I want to say about this. White people feel, I'm not saying every white person, y'all. Every time I say white people or black people, clearly, y'all, I'm not talking about every person. I'm giving a generic stance on it. I think white people feel like her. This little kid is stealing. I'm sick of these kids that don't have good parenting and they stealing stuff and doing this and they acting like ends. And if I feel like they acting like ends, I should be able to say it. Just like if a black person feel like they acting like an end, he should be able to say it. And so all this virtue signaling around a word that black people just blow out of proportion, I'm over it. F off, put me on the internet. And that's what I think this woman had done. I do not think it makes sense for somebody to call a kid any name. But the N-word has, to me, it has lost its luster. It has zero power. For some reason, if you want to be a victim, it now activates to having power. And that's why I would never feel sorry for, or there's no justification for a black person responding to the N-word no different than they respond to any other word. And it's even worse when black people get mad about the N-word. When I saw this and the lady called a kid an N, her calling him an N is irrelevant to me. What's relevant is that the fact that she called a kid a name in the first place, the fact that she may have said something derogatory towards a kid in the first place is the problem. Now, I don't know where that kid parents at, because she doing all this and nobody came forward to claim this kid.
So that's a pretty reasonable take, but I will defend her for using it against a kid who, again, is probably 10, 11 years old, not 5 years old, as an excited utterance, something that's said in the heat of the moment. And she wasn't using it to describe his, quote, race. She was using it to describe a certain kind of behavior within that race. Isn't that right, Chris Rock?
Black people, there's and have got to go. Every time black people want to have a good time, ignorant ass it up.
What say you, Stephen Coward?
She said it. It's wrong. It's dumb. The kid was wrong. The cameraman is wrong. And the people doxing afterwards are certainly also scumbags. Let's watch.
Look at how uncomfortable he is. It was wrong. She should have never said the N-word. Just like Joe Rogan apologized and groveled and said white people should never use that word ever in any context.
Okay, we'll see about that, what the internet has to say about you.
Ah, the last.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. We'll see what the internet has to say about you. This is the kid. Now, is she wrong? Yeah. Was it dumb? Yes. But let me ask you this. Do you think for a second that you wouldn't have the same outrage if, let's say, a black child stole her son and she called him a little criminal? People would say it was coded language. So in this case, she's wrong. She's of course wrong. You shouldn't say that to a 5-year-old anyway. But what if she said, hey, you little
10-year-old
thief? We've also seen outrage over that.
Again, I couldn't care less that she used that little word against a kid, because kids that age use that kind of language against other kids every day. Here's clickbait Benny Johnson trying to capitalize off the virality of this video while being a fence sitter and afraid to actually defend her.
So this is the most viral video on the internet right now. A white woman calling...
Okay, yeah, we've seen it. Now, give us your little 5-second take at the end of your clickbait video, Ben.
Okay, we'll see about that, what the internet has to say about you.
So I'm not into doxing here, obviously, and you know what I think about words. There's no such thing as a banned word, okay? There are consequences, however, to using words. I don't have to agree with them. It's just how it is. There's cultural stigmas to using naughty words. Now, here's the action-reaction here. The woman who used that word has raised $250,000.
See, he's not even giving a take. He's not saying that it's wrong, that the stigma is ridiculous, that people should support this woman to send a message against cancel culture. He's being the ultimate cowardly little fence sitter. Well, here's what some people are saying, and here's what others are saying, weenie. Here's what CJ Pearson had to say. He works for PragerU. He was that kid like 10 years ago, the black kid who was denouncing Barack Obama, which was quite hilarious. And so he obviously rose up the ranks in Conservative Inc. And he posted that, I am a free speech absolutist, but certain speech does come with certain consequences. For example, some woman portraying herself as a victim. He says, oh, so she's just portraying herself as a victim, being doxxed, being harassed, having unimaginably horrifying things happen to her, which is the result of becoming the internet's enemy number one, or TikTok's enemy number one. And then he repeats calling the little kid the N-word. Oh, no. She made her bed, he says. Now she has to lay in it. So that's PragerU's proud black conservative kid, all grown up now, supporting the woman having her life being ruined for just calling some little thief a bad word. These Conservative Inc. cowards are afraid to laugh at hilarious and true pieces of comedy, like this famous South Park skit where Randy Marsh appears on Wheel of Fortune, and then this happens.
Okay, well, looks like you're gonna get a lot of help here. Category is people who annoy you. Audience, keep quiet, please. 10 seconds, Mr. Marsh.
I know it, but I don't think I should say it.
Oh, we all know it, all right.
5 seconds, Mr. Marsh.
All right, I'd like to solve the puzzle. N***ers.
Now, I bleeped that, but when South Park aired it originally, surprisingly, this actually did air, and they did not bleep it. They let it fly.
Huh?
Oh. Whoops.
Oh.
And of course, there are countless black people on TikTok and other social media platforms confirming, feeding into that terribly inaccurate stereotype about black men being violent.
That lady, Shiloh Hendricks, whatever the her name is.
He's been following the story very closely, obviously. Not really sure what her name is, but whatever.
And call that little boy a nigga and gonna sit up here and make a GoFundMe to play victim.
Well, she is a victim because, as usual, the cancel culture mob on TikTok have ruined her life.
Girl, ain't nobody harass you, call you out your names, and give you racial slurs.
Nobody's called her a racial slur, really.
That's crazy to me. And have the audacity to start a GoFundMe. It's gone now. Thank God people reported it. Because people...
No, it's not gone. It's still up. That's how out of touch you are, moron.
Because people like her, they deserve a bullet. They really do.
So now this guy is calling for her to lose her life because she used a little word that hurt his feelings. And I'd be willing to bet this guy can't even find Minnesota on a map.
Popular opinion, racists aren't emboldened because Trump is in office. Racists are emboldened because they haven't had to swallow their teeth. They can call you hard ER today and get $1 million tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it'll all get swept under the rug because they all still have their teeth.
Not really helping dispel that angry black woman stereotype, are you, ma'am? Which has its own Wikipedia page, which describes it as just a stereotype, of course, a derogatory racial stereotype of black American women as pugnacious, poorly mannered, and aggressive. Well, why would people think that? I don't know if this is actually related or if this is a coincidence or if this is an older clip that has just resurfaced in the wake of this situation, but this is a rapper who goes by the name of Dave Blunts, who... well, in unrelated news, has a hard time standing, so he performs much of his shows sitting for obvious reasons. But this is what he has to say about the little N-word controversy.
I know in my music I say a lot of words that they tell me I shouldn't say or I can't say. But I want everybody to know, you come to my show, you get a free motherfucking N-word pass.
They call it an N-word pass when white people are allowed to say the little word.
Now, when there's a song that has the N-word, I want you to scream that.
From cowards like Joe Rogan apologizing for using the word back years ago when it was allowed on the big tech platforms and nobody really feared using it. He said it dozens and dozens of times. The Young Turks, the Young Jerks, Chunk Uger and Anna Kasparian have said it dozens and dozens of times in the past. I posted this compilation over on my locals page in case you want to see it. Howard Stern used to say it and perform in blackface, which I will also admit is hilarious. They did numerous skits involving the little word, like this one. This audio is a little bit hard to hear, but if you can understand it, this is back when comedy, or at least when Howard Stern was funny.
I have a little bit of a problem. I'm in the store right now and I cannot find my son. I'm in the very front with security. My name is Harold Gers. Last name is G-E-R-Z.
He's calling into a store to have somebody paged. Okay.
His first name is Nick. Last name is G-E-R-Z. Right. I'm in the front with security. Thank you.
Attention shoppers. Can I have Nick Gers? Please come to the front. There's someone waiting for you. Nick Gers. Please come to the front of the store. There's someone waiting for you.
That's how he spends his Saturday afternoon.
Sounds like a good time, man. If you want to hear more clips like that, completely uncensored, that would cause a lot of problems here on YouTube, then go and follow me over on Locals. Click the link in the description below. It's a subscription blog. It's $5 a month. Your sponsorship helps support my work and the channel. So click the link in the description below. Head on over there and check it out. So click the link in the description below and head on over there and check it out.